It might be that I went to far too many Grateful Dead concerts or had way too much fun in the 70s and early 80s, but I have a hard time understanding the ridiculous bullshit that I hear from Democrats like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, who refused to secure our southern border. I don't know how stupid you have to be not to know the dynamics behind human trafficking, which is exactly what it is. When people are smuggled into the United States, that, if you're not bright enough to figure it out, is human trafficking. If you refuse to do anything to slow down or stop human trafficking, you support human trafficking. That makes you scum of the freaking earth. Okay? We just had a girl last week who died after her parents dragged her through a desert for 4 days with no water, and she died when they got to the United States. So of course that was blamed on us. It wasn't blamed on the parents. It wasn't blamed on the fact that the parents thought that if we can just sneak across the border, because it's so easy to sneak across the border. You can't tell me that you give a shit about women either, because Human Rights International says that as many as 80% of the women and young girls that are smuggled into the United States are victims of rape, sexual assault, sexual molestation. So don't tell me that you care about what Donald Trump said that he could do when you sit there every single day and tell human traffickers and smugglers, bring as many women and kids as you can into the United States. And if you want to have a little fun with them on the way up here, that's fine, because we use them as a wedge issue. We really don't care about them. We won't do anything to make it legal for low-skilled workers to come into the United States because we're Democrats. Okay? So on one hand, you support women. On the other hand, you support the rape and molestation of way more than half of the women that are smuggled into the country every year, and that's hundreds of thousands. I guess in the last month and a half or 2 months, they've caught 41,000 people in between McAllen and Brownsville trying to sneak into the country. So don't tell me that you care about women. Don't tell me that you care about immigrants. Don't tell me that you care about illegals, because what you subject them to is unconscionable. It's a human rights nightmare. So you think it's a good idea. Now check this out. If you want an open border, if you don't think we need a secure border and that people need to come into the country legally, let me tell you what you support, because you're too stupid to think it through, apparently. Number one, you have people that work their asses off for $5 a day for years, saving every dime they can so they can hire somebody to sneak them into the United States. Most of the time, when they're smuggled into the United States, they're brought over into places like Mission and Lorelis and any other small towns and colonias along the border, and they're stuck in a stash house because the cartel members, the drug cartel members who are doing the human trafficking, then put them in a stash house. Then they call up their parents in Mexico and Guatemala and Honduras and say, you need to send us another $2,000 or we're not going to let your people loose. And so they sit there, they're extorted, they're kidnapped, the women are molested, raped, and abused. And you guys want to sit there with your little things and call us, Republicans and conservatives, racist because we want to have secure, legal immigration into the United States. And I'm tired of hearing it. You either don't know what the hell you're talking about, or you don't give a shit about women or children or poor or anybody but yourselves. You're trying to make political hay, and that's it. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, you are two of the lowest scumbuckets in the freaking world, because you know exactly the horrors of illegal immigration and human trafficking into the country, and you refuse to do anything about it. So don't you ever pretend that you have a moral high ground to talk from on anything, because you don't. If you cared about illegals, if you cared about women, if you cared about the poor in this country, you would make it possible for low-skilled workers without a sponsor to come into the United States and work. And as long as they're here working, as long as they have a stable address and people know where they are and they're paying their taxes and they're not committing crimes, they should be able to come in here and wash dishes and cut grass and do whatever they want to do. But you won't do that for some reason. The Democrats refuse to do that for some reason. They made a big deal about DACA. Oh, the dreamers, oh, those poor little guys, they were taken here, you know, and a lot of them were like 18 when they got here, but they were taken here by their parents, right? And they need a path to citizenship. And there's 600,000 dreamers that Donald Trump is going to throw out of the country. So Donald Trump sits down with Pelosi and shithead Schumer and says, if you work with me and secure the border, I will give amnesty and a path to citizenship for 2 million people. 2 million of the dreamers you care so much about. You know what Schumer and Pelosi said? Fuck off. We ain't working with you. Kiss our ass. No deal. So tell me how much they care. Tell me how much Democratic politicians in this country care about the people that they supposedly support. You guys need to wake up or shut up, because you've got nothing to add. All you're doing is protecting the status quo. Being called a racist by a liberal is like being called fat, ugly, and stupid by Joy Behar. It doesn't mean anything anymore, because you have trivialized it to the point white bread is racist now. So you can kiss everybody's ass. But don't ever sit there on your little moral high ground, on your high horse, which is a Shetland pony, and talk down to anybody, because you don't give a shit about women, you don't give a shit about illegal immigration.